go to the Fantasy Light store on fantasychristmaslights.ie.
It's the security of knowing that my business is protected by 24-hour high-tech surveillance.
Top Security, the sign of security.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app, with hundreds of pre-live and in-play football markets. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
You're welcome back to Thursday's Off the Ball. So they're around 12 minutes away from kick-off at the Aviva. Updates throughout the evening on the Republic of Ireland against Northern Ireland, the international friendly. John Giles is with us in studio. How are you?
All right, Nathan.
You're going to stick around for the football show as well later. Watch the match, give us your analysis and thoughts and whatever we can read into these sort of friendlies. Your name has been taken in vain for the last half an hour, though. Kieran Cunningham was on the other end of a phone line when yourself and Eamon Dunphy were watching the Manchester derby in different countries, was it? But on the phone throughout? Yeah.
No, I was in Dublin.
Oh, you were in Dublin,
so we're on the phone. That happens regularly.
Does it?
Well, Eamon has a little bet now and again. I don't.
A little bet.
So what he says to me, I'll give you 20 minutes to see how the game is going. So, you, like, rather than before the match, there's a little feel of it.
Yeah.
And as the game goes on, there's certain things, there's certain signs in the game, Nathan. This team is not doing well. It could be, say they're winning 1-0, 10 minutes to go, and there's a simple ball, and they knock it out for a touch instead of giving it to the player. They're getting a bit tired. There's just signs like that the concentration is gone. They're looking a bit weak. There's just signs in it. That, I don't get it right all the time, you know. But
what's your percentage, though, John? Is what we want to know right now.
I don't know. It's pretty good. Well, Eamon puts the bets on.
Is he happy generally?
Oh yeah. He's yeah. You used to have funny ones at RTE sometimes, you know, when we were doing the panel. And there was, say, a match, I think it was Cyprus, one of the teams. Iceland actually was winning. I said, unexpectedly, I said, I think they'll hold on. He says, do you think so? So he went out and put a bet on. And when he was coming back, the other team scored. Well, he gave me a look, Nathan. But as it happened near the end, now I don't know if you remember the match, Iceland were up against it, but they finished, got a breakaway and scored.
Yeah.
He's jumping up in the air. Well done, Chief. He calls me Chiefy, you see. Well done, Chiefy. That's brilliant. But up before that, I was the biggest.
Silent treatment.
No, the silent treatment. Yeah. So it's a bit of fun. I do it for a bit of fun.
I would have thought.
Eamon has a bet. I don't have a bet.
You're obviously great pals going back years and years. I still would have thought for some reason that sitting watching a game like the Manchester derby, a huge game, that actually you wouldn't want to be talking to anyone on the phone.
Well, I get a bit of interest from it myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I get a bit of a kick out of it because that's what I think when I'm doing it. And it's no good saying to anyone, my wife doesn't take any interest in football, but if I said to Anna, I thought they were going to win. Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of, if I ring him and say, I think these are going to do it, you know, or they're going to the next goal and that, you know. But he put the bet on. I don't put a bet on.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of satisfaction in it. But I knew the lads were going over to him in the bet, but when I was actually ringing him, I'd forgotten about it. I wouldn't have rang him at that time if there was anybody else listening, you know.
Yeah.
But I think he won a few bob anyway in the end.
Yeah, well, Kieran was saying that when it was 2-1 that the call came through. You think City are going to get a third?
Yeah. He'd get a few bob on that.
Yeah. Well, finished 3-1, so you nailed it. We'll get on a little bit later to talking about City and United and some of the Premier League stories, but we do want to talk Ireland. We're not at the Aviva, but in a way you are at the Aviva because the cover of the match programme, if you look up there on screen, John Giles and George Best.
Yeah, well, I think that's Liam Brady. To be honest, because before I came out, my daughter had it, and she said, because first of all, I never played against George Best, but not that we have to that. No,
I think it's our two greatest ever players together.
Yeah, well, it's definitely Liam was always number 6. I was never number 6. I was always number 10. But never number 6. But if you look like that, it looks a bit like Liam from behind, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a bit.
You know,
that's a
like Liam was one of our great players, as we know, and Georgie. But I never actually played against Georgie. I know for the photograph they don't have to do it. But I played in the first match, competitive match that we ever played against Northern Ireland in '78. Liam would have played in that match, but Georgie Best wasn't playing then. No, Nathan. Georgie had finished before that with the Northern Ireland team.
Well, it looks nice. It's just not factually correct, unfortunately.
It's not factually correct, but it's nice to be on it.
That's
anyway.
Nice to
even if I look like Liam on it.
Brady, that's a bit of a killer, isn't it? So let's briefly talk about tonight's game then. The team is in, for anyone who hasn't heard it. It's still three at the back, it seems. Darren Randolph in goals, Darragh Lenihan, Shane Duffy and John Egan the back three, Seamus Coleman and Robbie Brady potentially as the wing backs, Jeff Hendrick and Glenn Whelan in midfield, and then Callum O'Dowda and James McLean playing just off Callum Robinson. On Glenn Whelan first, he's getting his sort of farewell due tonight, his 85th cap. He's not going to be around. He says he hasn't retired, but he's not going to be around for the Euro 2020 qualifiers in all likelihood. Is this the right thing to do, to give him the opportunity to say goodbye? Yeah,
I think it is. I think it's 85 caps is a lot. I mean, he's been a good servant to the Irish team, Nathan, as we know. And I think it is good, as long as you're consistent with it, you know. I mean, it is controversy in England over Rooney doing it, and I have my own thoughts on that. But it's an unusual situation, even with Glenn Whelan, because what he's saying is, I'm not retiring.
Yeah.
And I think what Martin is saying, well, I'm retiring.
Well, it was slightly bizarre because Whelan did his press conference yesterday and said, I would never retire. I'm always available. O'Neill had said the day previous, we could have really done with him a few times over the past year. Well,
it's odd.
When did you pick him?
I could look to him, and I think it is great for him, and he's going to be captain tonight. But it's in many ways it doesn't make sense. Because Glenn Whelan is saying, I'm playing in this match, and it's like a goodbye match.
What if he goes out and is man of the match tonight?
But I'm not retiring, you know.
Yeah.
And Martin is saying, well, more or less, well, I won't be picking him. So, but good luck to him. I mean, it's a friendly game, and he's played for quite a few years for the Irish team.
Yeah, 10 years at this stage. Probably received more criticism than any Irish player over the last decade.
Well,
was definitely a time sort of a lightning rod for the style of football, that he was seen as one of the root causes that we didn't play a more attractive style?
I never blamed him for that. I mean, I think he is what he is. I think he's a very good, wholehearted player. I criticised him as well quite a lot because I didn't think it was the best we had at that particular time. I think what happened with Trapattoni when he came, I think Trapattoni made up his mind, Nathan, to be quite honest, that we don't have such good players. So therefore, this is the way I'm going to play. And they were like really, really defensive, in my opinion. It was Glenn Whelan and Keith Andrews, who played in the team nearly all the time. So, I mean, there's no doubt that neither of them are creative players in any way whatsoever. Whereas we had Reid around that time, Glenn Whelan, who never played really. So, and Glenn Whelan did what Trapattoni wanted him to do. I mean, I would have prepared a bit more skill and a bit more creativity in the middle of the field, and I don't think Glenn Whelan was a creative player at all. But he was a good-hearted lad. He did the best he could. I've never seen him where he didn't do the best he could.
And obviously had something in him that managers liked, was able to follow instruction, because at Stoke, Tony Pulis, I think, tried to replace him every summer, went out and bought a central midfielder, yet 5 games in, Glenn Whelan was back in the middle of midfield. Trapattoni played him in every game. Martin O'Neill, for the first 2 or 3 years, played him in every game. That in itself, I guess, is a quality as a footballer, to be able to endear yourself to managers, that they'll always pick you.
Yeah, well, again, you have to go back to the manager. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it wasn't, I didn't just criticise Glenn Whelan.
Not sure.
I criticised Trapattoni as well, who didn't believe in any creativity in the middle of the field. So that would be a protest or a criticism of what was actually happening with the team. Well, Glenn Whelan didn't, Glenn Whelan, Wes Whelan didn't play. I mean, a few years ago, it was, I don't think, from a lot of the managers, don't think he can play away from home. He's too small, he doesn't get a tackle in, all the various things. And now when Glenn is older, the thing is he's too old. When he wasn't old, he wasn't picked anyway. And Reid was. I mean, Reid fell out very badly with Trapattoni.
Yeah.
So, but I think anybody that's played 85 matches deserves a send-off. But I just find it odd that Glenn is saying, well, I'm not retiring and I'll be here, I'm available. And Martin is saying, more or less, well, I won't be picking you anyway.
Yeah, it is a bit strange. He's quite a, is it I think maybe it's seen as a modern phenomenon, the Glenn Whelan type of midfielder, where he's so recognisable as a holding midfielder that there was never actually any expectation, neither Tony Pulis or Trapattoni ever had any expectation for him to do anything on the ball. Yeah,
well, my criticism would be to the managers. Yeah. I am a total non-favourite of the holding midfield player. I think you guessed that with the few times that have been on. I don't believe any team should have a designated holding midfield player. There's not much expected of them. Like see, I'm only giving you my take on it. You play in the middle of the field, and a midfield player is on the ball in the midfield player. And in football, the only time you get into trouble in football is when you can't pass the ball to one of your colleagues. That's when you get into trouble. But what happens with the holding midfield player? The fella is on the halfway line, the midfield player. Now, I think if the holding midfield player supported them and got into position to receive the ball, then the player wouldn't lose the ball. But what happens? The player's isolated, he loses the ball, and then the holding midfield player gets a tackle in. And everybody see that? That holding midfield player hadn't been there, they'd have been on the goal. Yeah. But if the midfield player had come up level with him to receive the ball and maybe score a few goals from that position, you know. Now, I go back a long time, and I don't want to be talking about myself. I played with Bremner, right? Billy Bremner in the Leeds team. And I used to say to people, which of us was the holding midfield player? Bremner scored 115 goals for Leeds. I scored 115 goals for Leeds. So instead of being back, letting Billy go forward and maybe losing the ball, support him. And have there's only one ball on the pitch. You better have possession of the ball than losing it. And it's happening all the time. It's become part of football, and there's a huge copycat effect in football, right? The holding midfield player has to be there, right? What you do is you balance it out between you. When you should be back, you're back, and when you're forward, you should be forward. That's my take.
And was that a natural understanding that yourself and Billy Bremner had, or was that something that Don Reevy worked on the training ground when he goes, you stay, when... Or
you didn't have to work on that, Ned. You're a footballer. Do you know what I mean? You're a footballer. So if Bremner went, then you took in... Now, first of all, you try and get up the side.
You have to learn that somewhere, do you not?
No. Actually, you have to learn to be a defensive midfield player, right? Or you have to learn... Oh, don't get me wrong. You have to learn things in football. Yeah. But your natural inclination as a footballer is to do that.
To get the ball.
And score goals as well. Rather than... This is the only time the holding midfield player should come into the game is when you've lost the ball. And what I'm saying, if the midfield player was doing what he should be doing, you wouldn't be losing the ball. So there'd be no need to have the midfield player. I mean, you get Dyer playing for Spurs, for example. Drives me mad, Nathan. He strolls around, and gets a couple of tackles in. But actually, funny enough, when Wes Houlihan played in the Irish team, Wes Houlihan got as many tackles in as anybody else.
Almost.
And some of the best players do, who also score goals. I mean, you got De Bruyne at Manchester City. He scores a fair amount. It gets on the ball a lot, and he gets as many tackles in. I don't see the reason for a designated holding midfield player. There are some players a bit more defensive than others. But if you go at the right time and back up together at the right time and back together at the right time, you don't have to have a designated player who is no good to you, actually, most of the time, when the team has the ball. Not expected to do anything.
Good stuff, John. They're just about to get underway at the Aviva. We will take a quick break and we're going to talk a bit more about Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app. Multiples made easy and personalised content on every sport. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
OK, the secret is out. Kildare Village is having a private sale that ends this Sunday. That means saving an extra 20% on participating brands, but to get those savings, you must become a privileged member at kildarevillage.com. It's a private sale, don't forget. So get online and be in line for some pretty remarkable extra savings. Only during the private sale. Only at Kildare Village, where there's something extraordinary every day. Terms and conditions apply.
At Lidl, we go out every week and check competitors' prices so you don't have to. Check out our 3 for €9 mix and match meats like our fresh Irish medium whole chicken, Irish organic steak mince and fresh Cajun salmon darns. And try our big brand super savers like Kelkin gluten-free bread, only $2.99, and Heinz baked beans, 6-pack just $3.49. Lidl, more for you.
You thought it was a one-day deal, a week at most, but you were wrong. The Black Friday event is now on at appliancesdelivered.ie, and the savings are epic. TVs from just $99.95, up to 40% off washing machines, up to 20% off dishwashers, and up to 25% off refrigeration. Savings even more epic than my voiceover. The Black Friday event, now with more incredible deals added at appliancesdelivered.ie.
Order your new 191 Mercedes-Benz Vito Classic now, and for just €17,995, you will enjoy air conditioning, multifunction steering wheel and twin rear doors as standard. For details, visit mercedes-benz.ie. Mercedes-Benz. Vans born to run. Recommended retail price excludes taxes and dealer-related charges. Terms and conditions apply.
My mammy was the last person you would expect to die of lung cancer. She was full of fun and laughter, and she never smoked a day in her life. I may not be who you think of when you think of lung cancer, but I am lung cancer. If you suffer from a persistent chesty cough, breathlessness, unexplained weight loss or fatigue, please see your GP. This is a message from the Marie Keating Foundation, kindly supported by MSD and Roche. For more information, visit mariekeating.ie.
From your first 1 litre to a family 7-seater. From cars with the highest spec to the latest hybrid tech. Find your next car at Done Deal, Ireland's largest motoring website. Done Deal. Discover and drive.
Bring Epic home this Christmas. Only Air gives you totally unlimited fibre broadband with free Air Sport and BT Sport for just $39.99 a month. And all on a 12-month contract. For more on this epic offer, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. New customers only, $59.99 a month thereafter, subject to availability. User experience may vary. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
At Blackrock Clinic, we offer direct access to our expert team of endoscopy specialists. So if you're concerned about a stomach or bowel issue, we can quickly find the cause and whether it's serious or not. With a referral from your GP, an appointment can be arranged within 24 hours. For access to a world-class endoscopy unit, think first. Think Blackrock Clinic. Blackrock Clinic, when your experience needs ours.
Football on Off the Ball.
In association with the faster-than-ever Boyle Sports app for exclusive price enhancements on the biggest games around. Download it now. Boyle Sports. Time to play.
The first time since partition 57 years ago that national teams from Northern Ireland and the Republic have met in a football match. The game, which ended in a goalless draw, was played amid tight but discreet security. David Cass was there.
As the first soccer special from Belfast to Dublin arrived at Lansdowne Road, the fans found the welcome friendly, even from the police manning the checkpoints in search of potential weapons. There were, however, isolated attempts to taunt the opposition. Most of the 50,000 spectators had clearly come for the football alone, and most of the extra police drafted in were hardly needed. But it really was their day. Not only did they watch things outside, but they provided the pre-match entertainment inside the stadium. But the Northern supporters were determined to have their say. The officials and politicians, including Irish President Mr Hillary and Northern Ireland Minister Roy Mason, were unimpressed by the Protestant song or by the play which followed the historic exchange of pennants by the two captains. So the extra police were not needed and the fans behaved themselves. Some, though, criticised the level of security.
Yeah, so that was a report from 1978, the first time ever that the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland met. You were player-manager.
I was player-manager that year, yeah. Danny Blanchflower was manager for the Northern Ireland team. Martin
O'Neill was on the Northern Ireland team.
Yeah.
Were you going up against each other in the middle of midfield, or was he playing out in the wing?
I think he was playing wider in midfield.
Yeah. The Irish team, Mick Kearns in goals, Tony Grealish, Mark Lawrenson, Noel Sinnott, Jimmy Holmes, Jerry Daly, John Giles, Liam Brady, Steve Highway, Paul McGee, Frank Stapleton.
Yeah.
Wasn't a bad old
team. Really didn't play in that match, did he? And because there was a few Arsenal players in both, Pat Jennings.
Liam Brady, obviously, and Frank Stapleton on the Irish side.
Yeah. Well, Jennings was on the opposite.
Rice.
Pat Rice. Left back. Who was left back for Northern Ireland in that match?
Left back was Chris Nicholl.
No, he was centre half.
Nelson,
he was an Arsenal
player.
Yeah. There was a good few. There was no.
Was there tension leading up to it? Do you remember? Well, there was a nervous atmosphere.
There was a certain amount. But Danny Blanchflower was the manager of Northern Ireland. Danny was a very, very intelligent individual who wouldn't be mixed up in any bad behaviour whatsoever.
Right, so there was nobody trying to stoke it up at all?
No, not at all. And as you can see there were quite a few Arsenal players. I think there was at least 5 Arsenal players played for both sides in that day who knew each other very well and got on very well. So there was no trouble whatsoever in the game. It was the first time, as you say there, the Northern Ireland played the Republic of Ireland. But I must say, I don't remember any bad stuff on the pitch or bad stuff off the pitch. So a lot of people were very, very concerned before the match that there could be trouble, but it went off very, very well.
A dour anticlimax is
how it wasn't a good game.
Described in the end.
I say that about right, Nathan. It wasn't a good game. It was a bit hectic.
Yeah.
The game, you know, very fast-paced game, and it wouldn't have been a good spectacle. Let's put it that way.
We had Jerry Taggart on earlier talking about the game in '93 and the atmosphere around that, and how as a player he said you're a little bit oblivious. You're just trying to focus on your own game and the players you're going up against and trying not to get caught up in what could happen, what might happen. Was it a similar case around that game of somehow we need to just focus on the match, ignore the historical significance of what's happening, or were you very much aware of...
I think the build-up was good. As I said, I knew Danny Blanchflower pretty well, and Danny was a very, very wise, well-educated individual. There was no way Danny would be stroking any fires, let's put it that way. And as I said, the players what I found with players over the years, when you take people out of that environment, whether it be in Scotland, Geddy Gray, for example, and Jimmy Lumsden were big pals of mine. One was a Blue Nose, as they called, the other a Celtic, and they came down as 15-year-olds, and they're pals to this day. I think once you take them out of that environment, and the players, like I said, the Arsenal players, were big pals, Liam Brady and Pat Jennings. I mean, I know Pat very well. And no trouble whatsoever. So when people live together, Nathan, it gets rid of all that nonsense. You know, they know we're all human beings and we get on well. So there was no bad feeling leading up to the game at all, and there was no bad feeling in the game. So everything went, and I think everybody was very, very conscious that things should go properly in the match, and they did. But as a spectacle, it wasn't very good, to be honest.
And what about a year later then, when you went to Windsor Park? You didn't play in that game?
No, I was injured for that match. There was, again, no trouble there. They beat us 1-0, I think. And Pat Jennings was brilliant. Well, Pat was probably the best goalkeeper I ever came up against. And he was brilliant in that match. But they did beat us.
Jerry Armstrong scored the goal.
Yeah, they beat us.
Because I was reading a piece earlier, Joe Waters, who was... I think came off the bench in that game, talking about the hostility and how intimidating the whole atmosphere was. This is around the height of the Troubles at the time, the chants that were coming in, kill the Fenian bastards from the stands in Windsor Park, and just really feeling very, very intimidated that it felt like there could be a flashpoint at any stage, but that there was nothing on the pitch, that there was no bad blood at all between the players.
Well, I have different memories of it. I don't remember anything in it, Nathan, at all, to be honest. I mean, there might be a few chants here and there, which you would expect, but I didn't find the bitterness. The team was very safe. There was never going to be an invasion on the pitch or anything like that. I thought the match in Belfast went off very well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how these things can grow legs. 30, 40
well, I didn't. I know Joe very well. But it's not the way I remember the game.
He said it was the quickest warm-up any team ever went through. Nobody ever stopped moving.
It sounds good, I think.
Yeah, so it was a bit calmer. Yeah. It's certainly pretty calm at the Aviva Stadium this evening because there are 11 and a half minutes gone. It's still scoreless. It's pretty much half empty, I would say. It's a friendly, essentially. These Nations League games that we're playing against Wales and Denmark, because they're no longer friendlies, actually, they feel they have a good competitive nature. It means something, whereas as much as you can try and build up a rivalry now between the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland.
I think there's no great rivalry, really. And what's happening, as we know, Nathan, neither team are doing particularly well at the moment, and it is a friendly match. So I wouldn't have expected a big crowd, let's put it that way.
Yeah. So still scoreless. John is going to watch the game for us. He's going to come in at half-time, give us his thoughts, and at full-time as well, and see can we pick through the bones of this. Are there players that have impressed? Is Martin O'Neill building something ahead of the game against Denmark on Monday night, but scoreless after 12 minutes? Thanks a lot, John. We'll talk to you in a while. Quick break.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
The wait is over. The shopping event of the year is here. Get Black Friday discounts today at Harvey Norman. Get the Akai 65-inch UHD Smart TV for just €649, saving you €350. Or get the Dyson Kinetic Big Ball Vacuum for just €349, saving